Well, my wife insisted, and I mean really insisted. So this week I built a raised garden bed. But before we get to that, it's time for a make or break. Hey guys, welcome back to Make or Break, where we share our favorite maker videos of the week, and then we challenge ourselves to build a project of our own. I'm Rob, and I just finished the biggest project yet. But first, let's take a look at our favorite maker videos of the week. Scott Brown is a carpenter who we featured in our other show, the Power Tool Weekend Review, many times, mainly for his power tool reviews. But now that he's quarantined at home, he decided to share his own list of 8 must-have tools for DIY projects instead. He covers all the basics, including hand saws, drills, multi-tools, measuring tools, and more. If you're just getting started in projects in your home, there are few better people than Scott Brown to give you good advice. You can find him at Scott Brown Carpentry on YouTube. Next up, one of our favorite builders on YouTube makes a giant bowl with a very unusual technique. Justin from Rainfall Projects decided he and his wife needed a 5-foot wide salad bowl, and instead of turning it on a giant lathe, he went the sacrilegious route of carving it with a CNC machine. In his typical fashion, he does a great job of walking you through every step and misstep. Even if you don't have a CNC machine, you'll really enjoy the watch. You can find him at Rainfall Projects on YouTube. Now, the maker community is growing increasingly concerned about John Malecki's mental health as his quarantine projects continue a strange march down Oddity Lane. But I'm telling you right now, crazy is where the genius of John Malecki lives. This week, John decided to make a unique display case for an equally unique pistol called the American Joe from Cabot Guns. The joints on this case are the real highlight, where he used a combination of dovetails and epoxy that turns out amazing. If you think you can handle this much Malecki, head over to John Malecki on YouTube. This week we ran into a maker we've never seen before. Her name's Anika, and she builds a beautiful A-frame desk for her daughter. Now, Anika doesn't mess around with stupid animated intros, but instead likes to get right into the action. She uses her miter saw to work out all the complex angles and pocket holes to hold it all in place. The desktop is a box with 2 drawers and a center space I would probably just fill with snacks. Just being honest. Besides the video, she also shares the complete plans and walkthrough on her website. If you're in need of a small but beautiful workspace, you can find it at Anika's DIY Life on YouTube. You guys ever heard of the Fords? Yep, these guys. This is the brother and sister duo Leanne and Steve Ford from the HGTV series Restored by the Fords. They renovate older homes in the Pittsburgh area that are a bit out of the ordinary. This past week, they partnered up with Heart Tools to create a series of project videos that cover everything from shelves, benches, and even a really cool wine rack. And of course, it's all delivered with the Ford charm you know and love. You can find all 6 videos on the Heart blog, which we'll link in the description and in our episode article. All right, a garden. I've never had one, but my wife grew up with one and really wants one really bad. And the other day, while I was watching videos on YouTube, well, this happened.
So the other day I was watching Make or Break, as we all tend to do. It was episode 10 where we featured a raised garden bed by Maker Gray. My wife saw it too. "Make me one," she said. "Fine," I said. I'd love to. So I reviewed Maker Gray's video again, opened up SketchUp, and planned my own. Based on the space we have, I made it 3 feet by 12 feet. I also added a 2x4 top rail because, design and stuff. Then it was time to get into the shop. First step was to get all of my lumber cut to size. I decided to use cedar fence pickets, which were really affordable. Unfortunately, they are all already dog-eared, so I had to cut that part off. I made my measurements and got to cutting. To make sure all the different lengths were consistent, I used my stop block, which I simply clamped to the workbench each time I changed sizes. Is it just me, or do you guys love cutting cedar too, just because it makes the shop smell so good? Once all the cedar planks were done, it was time to cut up the treated cedar 2x4s. I once again used my miter saw and stop block to make all of my cuts consistent. I then made my measurements and cut. I'm using a new 80-tooth finishing blade on the miter saw, and it cuts so smooth I didn't have to sand anything at all. Awesome. Now that all the pieces are cut, it was time to assemble them. I started with a basic frame, and I used pocket holes and triple-coated decking screws to hold it all together. Now remember, this thing is 12 feet long, so I had to get creative when supporting it on my 6-foot bench. Portable table saws make great sawhorses in a pinch. Then it was time to start gluing and screwing all the cedar planks. After gluing them in place, I pre-drilled holes and then drove in 1 1/4 inch stainless steel screws to hold it all together. I finished one side, moved it out of the way, and then completed the other. I also wanted to cover the joints with a few cedar planks, again for the designed awesomeness. I took some scrap planks and ripped them in two on the table saw. Then it was as easy as gluing them up and using brad nails to hold them in place while they dried. Then I got the two sides propped up on the ground. I needed to screw in the end braces. This would have been easier upside down if my floor was level, but it's really not level. So instead, I used some scrap pieces and clamped up this crazy contraption to keep it aligned while I screwed it together. Hey, it worked. Then I glued and nailed and screwed all the end planks. Last of all, I added a rail of treated 2x4s, more for aesthetics than anything else. Besides looking nice, it'll also give us a place to set our tools when we're planting. And then the final step was adding a couple planks to the corners to cover the joints and make it look purty. And purty she is.
So yeah, it's done and it turned out so much better than I hoped, but there's a lot more left to do. Next week, I'm gonna prep the outside area, install the bed, and then walk you through the soil recipe that's just perfect for veggies, or so we hope. All right, so as I mentioned before, I'm new to this whole gardening thing, so if any of you guys have a green thumb and you're willing to share your ideas, put them in the comments below. I promise to read each and every one of them. Special thanks to Heart for sponsoring us this week. We greatly appreciate it. Don't forget, you can catch us every Friday at our Power Tool Week in Review. And if you miss Sarah as much as I do, be sure to subscribe because she has a new series here on Belts and Boxes called Sarah's Top 5 DIY, and you won't want to miss them. All right, break's over. Let's make something.